Hello everyone, welcome to Wind Down Wednesdays. I'm your host Paula Taylor and this is episode 128. I want to say a quick thank you to my friend and colleague Katie Bowers, who was my first ever interview on the show last week. I know there was a little bit of a sound issue with the Zoom and I apologize for that, but it was a great discussion between the two of us. It was a really fun session to do that short kind of sample version of Tap and Tone, and I look forward to seeing how our collaboration grows in the future. So tonight's show is one of those topics where I was going around in circles and up and down and in and out and trying to figure out exactly what I was going to say and how I was going to say it and what the actual topic was. It took me a while to kind of home in on the topic and then hone down all of the things I wanted to say about this. And I knew right away that the stories that I wanted to talk about, I kind of knew what those were, but it took me a while to figure out what I was really trying to say. And I got 2 dog stories tonight. I almost should have put that in my ad because I think those are the most fun, getting to talk about my dogs and my relationship with my dogs. But what we're going to talk about is the link between safety, receptivity, and intuition. And I think I'll just launch into kind of these stories that illustrate this. And as we go, we'll talk about what is this link here? Why is safety essential for receptivity, which is also essential for intuition and receiving intuitive information? I have a lot of clients who come to me and they want to learn about opening to their intuition. They want to strengthen their relationship with their intuition. They want to open to their intuitive gifts, receiving information in whatever way that comes through for them. But the foundation of that is safety, and we're going to talk about why. And this topic came to me again. I was thinking a lot about safety this week and kind of intuition, and this story that I'm going to go into kind of will explain why. But the best story that came to me about kind of explaining why safety is necessary for receptivity and then intuition is I was thinking about my beagle Henry, who I've mentioned on the show I'm sure multiple times. And when we adopted Henry, we didn't know what his background was, but he was very skittish. He was very afraid of men. He would bolt. We actually had to buy a special harness for him that wrapped all the way down around the bottom part of his back because he would back out of harnesses and run. He ran into traffic a couple times. Owning him was very stressful, and it was very clear that he did not feel safe. And so we hired a trainer, and we were working with her. And one of the things she said really stuck with me, and especially when I was thinking about this topic, this came back to me because I've been thinking a lot about my dogs this week. And what she said essentially was something that we talk about on the show all the time. She didn't use that wording, but we'll kind of make the parallel there between what she said and what I say all the time. But essentially she said, we can't get him to learn anything new when he is in a fight, flight, or freeze response. If he does not feel safe, he is not going to be receptive to learning. I just said that last week where I talked about this idea that when we are in fight, flight, or freeze, we cannot make meaningful change. We cannot let go of the frequencies that are no longer serving us. It's hard to call in things like intuitive information and that divine light that we connect to because we're in this fight, flight, or freeze response, and the entire system is focused on keeping us safe. So if you are not safe, if you do not feel safe in your body, which most of us do not, at least to some extent, especially the people that I work with, the people that are probably watching or listening to this, people who have a background of trauma, people who are neurodivergent, people who have a background of having intuitive gifts early on in life that they shut down because they were shamed about them. All of these things mean that you do not feel safe in your body on some level. There is work to be done to retrain the nervous system, the body, to feel safe. And so when somebody comes to me and they say, I want to connect with my intuitive gifts, the very first thing we have to do is work on feeling safe. Because if you do not feel safe, you are not receptive. You are not in a mode to receive when you are in fight, flight, or freeze. You have to learn how to come into that ease response, that relaxation response, in order to receive. And then you can open up to these intuitive gifts that I share with you, that I talk about on the show. This intuitive information that comes through differently for all of us, but I am firmly convinced is accessible to everybody with training. It's a skill that you can develop. So why am I talking about this week? I have a story about safety, receptivity, and intuition, as you might gather. And so I finally got to go down to Mexico last week. If you recall, about a month ago, I was supposed to go. I had a family emergency. I couldn't go. I talked about how much I was looking forward to that, how much I needed that break, and I didn't get it. So we finally got to go. We were able to reschedule, and we went down last week for a few days. And I noticed it's kind of a weird, we don't usually go down at this time of year, or we haven't in the past. March is the spring break time. Holy Week is a big deal down there. So we were in this kind of weird shoulder period, like right at the end of spring break, right before Holy Week, which is a really crowded time. But it was essentially, everything was kind of in party mode, and that is not what I am looking for when I go down there. I am looking for relaxation and finding some ease. We'll talk a little more about that. So the first few places that my husband and I went, where we might normally go and feel kind of relaxed, there were live bands playing, and it was just it was not relaxing. It didn't feel relaxing. So about a day and a half in, and keep in mind, we really only have 3 days down there, I was like, what is going on? Like, I could feel my body. I was still in fight, flight, or freeze. And we had some things to take care of business wise. And so there were some things going on, but I was like, I need to come into this feeling of safety. I need to find this ease in my body again. I can feel that I'm not relaxed. And so I said to him, I want to go back to the beach, and I want to walk away from everybody. I want to sit out right by the water. I need to hear the waves. I need to just sit. I need to not worry about how long we're going to be there. I need to bring my cards and just kind of be in, get back into this grounded feeling of safety. We're going to talk more about grounding when we talk about the meditation. And so we did. And it was a huge shift. And we're going to talk again in the meditation about how we can do this when we're not at the beach, because we don't always have the access to nature that we might want to have. But there's something about sitting directly on the earth, burying your feet in the sand, as I did, listening to the rhythm of the waves. We've talked about entrainment before, this rhythm that pulses within everything, that kind of brings us back into this feeling of safety, this feeling of groundedness, this feeling of being in that ease response, that relaxation response. And so I finally got there. I finally got into relaxation mode. And I wish that we had a longer time down there, but we had to come back, and so we did. But I was feeling very calm and very relaxed. And on our way home, we stopped at the dog rescue that we go to all the time to donate food to. Sometimes we bring food with us, or we'll buy food while we're down there. We stop at the rescue on the way back, and we had kind of a stack of food between the two of us. We had bought these wet kind of packets of food, and so I was carrying a stack and he was carrying a stack. And you go and you ring the bell, and somebody comes and they take the food, and there's an outdoor space and an indoor space. So there's dogs kind of running around, and it's very loud. It's essentially like a shelter. So, the dogs are barking. It's kind of chaotic. And in the midst of this chaos, I turned and I looked, and there was this dog standing there who looked exactly like my dog Emmett, who I've talked about a lot on the show, who died just over a year ago. He died at the end of last January. And he was our first baby. We got him when he was 8 weeks old. He lived to be 15 and a half. And it was like, right away I got this intuitive hit. And I'm going to give you the hindsight version of this that makes me sound a little wiser than I maybe was in the moment. I'll also tell you what happened in the moment. But But I saw this dog and I had this feeling right away, and he was not barking. He was looking right at me completely calmly with this look on his face, and that his tail was wagging. And it was a very surreal moment. And I said to my husband, oh my gosh, that dog looks just like Emmett. Look at that dog. And he looked and he said, oh yeah, you're right, he does. And so we donated our food and we got back in the car and we started to drive back toward the road. And I said, stop the car. And he said, what? And I said, stop the car. And I said, I want to go back and meet that dog. And he was like, what are you talking about? We have 2 dogs. One of them is grumpy. Like, we immediately kind of started talking about the practical idea that if we brought home a 3rd dog, our little grumpy poodle Wendell wouldn't be happy, and you know, just kind of how busy we are and all of this stuff. Right away, the practical stuff kind of came up. And now looking back in the moment, I know, because I was in this state of safety, this state of calm, this ease response that is sometimes hard to attain in the daily life, stressful life that we live. That's why we go on vacation, right? That's why we take a break. We have to sometimes physically leave our space to actually feel like we're getting a break from things. Because I was in that ease response, I was receiving this intuitive hit. And I said to him, I don't know, there's something about that dog. And he said, well, you're just having an emotional, response because he looks like Emmett. And I said, yeah, that could be it. I don't know. But I just had this feeling. And so we would drive a little further, and then I would tell him to stop, and then we would drive a little further. So we were kind of stopping and going and discussing. And then I said, I need to pull some cards. I'm going to pull a card. And so the first card I pulled said, release your emotional baggage. And he said, see, you're just attracted to this dog because he looks like Emmett. You need to let that go. And we need to just go home. And I was like, oh, maybe you're right. But again, there was this feeling, and I was like, I don't think that's it. I think this card is telling me I need to release my baggage around the fact that this dog looks like my other dog, and feel into this feeling I got when I saw him, and this connection I felt when we looked at each other. And so we were almost to the street by that point, and I said, I want to go back and meet him. Let's just meet him. And he was like, okay, well, we were kind of back and forth, pros and cons in each other. Like, he'd say, okay, let's do that. I'd say, well, maybe we shouldn't. And we were kind of back and forth. But I'm like, let's just meet him. There's no harm in meeting him. Which is, I'm sure, what everyone who's ever adopted a dog has said. So we went back in and we rang the bell, and I said, hey, there was this dog out here. He's like a Schnauzer mix. I'd like to meet him. And this is another really interesting thing when you start to operate on this intuitive level. The dog was back inside in a crate. And so if we had come, this was maybe 5 minutes after we had dropped the food off. It was not very long. If we had come 5 minutes later, that dog wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have seen him. Is that a sign? I think so, but we will never know for sure, I guess. So we went inside, and she took the dog out, and again, very calm. There's chaos. There's all these little crates. He was in the space with kind of the smaller dogs, and they're all yipping and barking and coughing, and it was very chaotic and kind of loud. And he was not. He was very calm, but very friendly and very curious and very interested and very quickly, very loving. And again, there was this feeling. But I was like, oh, I don't know. I was getting a little bit in that OCD feeling. And I said to the woman, well, we have this grumpy dog at home, and he's a male dog. And, we had a male dog before, and the poodle didn't really like our other male dog. And I don't want to bring this dog into a situation that's not going to be good for him. And I don't want to stress out my other dog. But at the same time, we have this young, energetic female dog who really needs a companion and a playmate. And I could see them getting along really well. And again, there was just this feeling, this intuition that at the time I was a little bit kind of getting in my head, but I was in my body as well. I was still in that ease response. I was having some thoughts. I was having maybe a little bit of I guess, anxiety, but my body was in ease because I had been training for a couple of days to come back into ease by being on the beach, by doing some spiritual practice. So we said to Lady, well, we kind of went back and forth a little bit, and we said, well, what would we do if it didn't work out? We have to bring him back. And she said, yeah, you can bring him back, and there, no hard feelings kind of thing. And we talked about, what the adoption fee was. They do it by donation, which is crazy. So we said, well, we need to talk about it a little bit. We'll be back. So we went back out to the car. And we were kind of going back and forth again, 3 dogs is a lot of dogs, and we already have chaos in our lives, and we were kind of doing the, mental processing part of it. And I said, I want to pull another card. And he kind of was just like, well, I don't know how that's going to help, but, do your thing. And so I pulled another card, and the card said, allow yourself to receive. I cannot make this up. I did not make that up. Literally, the card said, allow yourself to receive. And that is when I dropped into that intuitive space. And that is when I was like, I think there's something about this dog that is calling me. Beyond the fact that he looks like our beloved Emmett. Totally different personality, interestingly. But I said, let's just go back in. Let's meet him one more time. We can always just give our information. She had said, when you come back, if he's still here, you can adopt him then if you need some time to think about it. If you want to come back, if you want to bring your other dog to meet him. And I was like, it's so chaotic there. That's not really going to help. We either need to take him or not. So we went back in, and right as we walked in, the woman said, oh, the Schnauzer Rescue in Phoenix is actually going to take this dog if you don't. So if you don't want him, you can just give him to the Schnauzer Rescue in Phoenix. And essentially, you would just have transported him into Arizona for them because we're in Tucson. So it's about a 2-hour drive. But she said, worst case scenario, essentially, you've transported this dog for the Schnauzer Rescue and they will take him because they were going to take him and adopt him out because he is a Schnauzer or Schnauzer mix. And it was so funny, again, looking back on that. It's like the universe was saying, you don't trust me, here's a safety net. Here, there's no risk here. Just try it. Just listen to your intuition. And so we brought him home, which I'm sure seemed crazy. It did seem crazy. Even now, it's like, as I'm telling the story, I'm like, yeah, we did it. We brought him home. Did make a peep in the car, slept pretty much the whole way home. This is the 5th dog that we've had, my husband and I together. And 4 of them were rescues. This is the 4th rescue. And I've never had a dog so seamlessly blend into our lives right away. Like, there's been literally no issue with him. Other than my grumpy little poodle Wendell is a little bit grumpy with him, but he's so much bigger that the couple times he kind of did his little grumpy thing, Milo, who we've named him Milo, just kind of looks at him and is like, I don't know what you think's going to happen here, and just walks away. And Milo and Ivy are playing, and actually all 3 of them are playing sometimes, because Wendell and Ivy like to play, and Milo doesn't get upset when Wendell and Ivy are playing. Milo is definitely a submissive dog. He likes to roll on his belly and get belly rubs. And if I had not been in that state of safety so that I could be receptive to this intuitive information, because even in that state, I almost said no to this. I pulled that card that said, allow yourself to receive. And again, my husband was like, oh, it's telling you to receive less chaos. You're complaining about chaos. And I'm like, no, it's telling me to receive this as a gift. And as soon as I got him home, I spent a few days with him. My husband had to go. I worked from home in my medical job, so I was here. And we just, right away, he loves light language. He comes right up to me. He lays with me. Henry was my energy dog, and Milo, I think, will be my energy dog. And again, if I hadn't been in that state of safety, I wouldn't have allowed myself to receive this gift. I would have seen it as just another thing I had to do, or another stress I had to deal with, or another piece of chaos I didn't want in my life. So essentially, safety is an essential ingredient for the receptivity that allows us to receive intuitive information. And I do this professionally and I struggle with it. Totally transparent and authentic about that. I teach other people to do this and I still struggle with it, and it's okay because it's hard to do. There is a lot of chaos around us. There is so much stress in our lives on a day-to-day basis. And then you add in the extra stressful things when we have big life events. And it's no wonder that most of us are in a constant state of fight, flight, or freeze. We don't remember what it's like to feel safe. We don't even know. Our body doesn't know. And the problem is that our body does not know the difference between these little stressors, this little chaos that's kind of always poking at us, and being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. We just haven't evolved to that place yet. So we have to train our bodies to be in ease. We have to train ourselves to get grounded. One of the best ways to feel safe is to get grounded. We're going to go into that in just a second. But if you want to increase your receptivity, open to your intuition, whether you want to receive intuitive information or connect with people who have passed on, or connect with your spiritual support team, or download information that you want to share with people, whatever it is, you cannot get there if you are not first in that state of safety. You just can't. Briefly, you can get glimpses of it. It's never going to be a reliable tool until you take the time and make the effort to retrain your body to relax. And it is a work in progress. I am a work in progress. I just went to my physical therapist yesterday and she was firing me from pelvic floor physical therapy and telling me you have all the tools you need. And I was saying, but the stress is what's making everything harder. And so we've got to learn to work within that stress. We've got to find the time. 1 hour a week on Wind Down Wednesdays, we spend time retraining our bodies to relax. All of the tools that I give you in these meditations, in this show, take with you, use them. Oxytocin breathing is one of the simplest, most powerful tools I've ever been gifted to tell your body you are safe. That is why we use it so often. That is why I reintroduce it almost every week in the meditation. So for tonight's meditation, I've got a little bit of a side story. I don't want to get too far off because I want to get into the meditation, but about 2-3 weeks ago, I did my Sacred Sound journey for March. It's the 4th Tuesday of every month here in Tucson. And as soon as I started, I heard this voice say, we're going down into the depths. And we spent the entire journey going down and down and down and down. And at the end of it, a couple of people said it was a little bit scary for them. And I want to address that because this is important. Most of us do not know what it feels like to be truly grounded, to be truly connected to the earth, to allow ourselves to be supported, because we've never really been taught how to do that. And so like anything else, when we first start to explore this part of the body and this depth of vibration in the earth, it can feel really scary. It is a dark vibration, and there is a understandable kind of mistake that we make with darkness, and we fear it because we think that it's going to hurt us, or we think that it is bad. The darkness of the earth is this, I see it as this rich, fertile, loamy soil. If you were going to plant a garden, if you were going to grow food to survive, you need this dark, rich soil. But if you're going down into that darkness, you don't bury yourself alive in soil. That would be scary and you would suffocate. But energetically, if I'm asking you to get down into these depths, into this rich darkness that lives under the earth's surface, that can truly support us and have us feeling really safe, it's a little bit scary if you've never done it before. It can feel like you're in a cave without a headlamp on, but I am here to guide you, and everything we do is always for your highest good. So don't mistake, that's what I was trying to say, don't mistake discomfort with fear. Don't mistake something feeling uncomfortable because it's new with it being bad for you. Whenever we learn something new, there's a period of time when we're outside of our comfort zone, and it can feel really scary. And if you need to come out, always, as always, do that. Come back to this a little bit at a time. But what we're going to do in the meditation tonight, we're going to go down into the depths. Just like I did in that sound bath. I'm going to use some sound. I'm already making the energy come down. You might, if you're sensitive to energy, you might feel that every time I spiral my fingers down. I am pulling energy down toward the earth, into the earth. And then from that space of safety and support, then we can open up to receive some intuitive guidance, and we'll do that at the end. And I have one last thing to say. I was thinking about these toys that I think they were from like the 70s. My neighbors used to have them, and they're called Weebles. I actually think I've maybe mentioned these on the show before because I see them. They're a good visualization tool when we talk about grounding. What is grounding? What the heck is grounding? Grounding is, yes, connecting into the earth, actually getting our energy down into the earth. But what is the point of that? Why is it helpful? So these little toys called Weebles, they look kind of like little eggs, and they had like a face on them. They were little people, and they were kind of weighted a little bit at the bottom. They were nice and heavy. And so the deal was you could push them, and they would kind of wobble around, but they wouldn't fall over. They'd come back up. And the song was, Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. I guess maybe that was the commercial. That was a little bit before my time. But we used to sing that when we used to play with our neighbor friends who were a little bit older. And you could hit the Weeble, and the Weeble would wobble, but it wouldn't fall down. It would eventually stop wobbling and come back up. And that is because it was weighted at the bottom, and it was resilient because it would wobble back and forth, and then it would come back to a still point. So use that idea with this understanding of the practical application of grounding. When we are fully grounded and connected to the earth, we cannot be knocked over. We can wobble for sure, and the world is really wobbly right now, and the world is getting wobblier. That is what came to me during this sound bath, and that feels scary, and it sounds scary, but it is a fact. The world is getting wobblier. Things are happening, chaos is increasing, and the way that we find true safety within that is to embrace our Weeble nature, is to ground ourselves, is to become heavy and connected to the earth, to let ourselves be supported by the earth so that when we get wobbly, yep, maybe we wobble around a little bit, but we don't fall down because we are connected to the earth. We are heavy. And we find that still point because we do this spiritual practice every week. So let's meditate together. So for this meditation, if you can, please sit up. You can practice grounding from a lying down position, but visually and just, especially if you're new to this, it's really going to help you if you're sitting up. You can sit in a chair, let yourself be supported, let yourself lean back against something. You can sit right on the ground. That's a great way to do grounding. If you can be in nature, if you can be outside and sit down, that's even better. But wherever you are, just come into a position that's comfortable. Take a minute, check in with your body. Just kind of become aware of any areas of tension, any discomfort. Let go of any judgments about that. Maybe do a couple of nice pelvic circles to the right, just going about 20% of your capacity. And then when it feels good, maybe reverse to the left, just waking up the base of the spine, that root chakra area, giving it some physical sensation of your bottom, your perineum, kind of moving in that lazy circle against whatever surface you're sitting on. Take a nice deep oxytocin breath, breathing in through the nose, letting the belly float out strongly, and then sigh it out with that audible ha from low to high. Keep doing these pelvic circles if it feels good. If you'd like, the end of your oxytocin breath, you can add that grounding oomph sound, just sending a burst of energy down into the earth. Let your pelvic still. Try one of those oxytocin breaths with that oomph at the end. Nice grunting, heavy sound, sending energy into the earth. As you'd make that oomph sound, you can visualize a shot of energy down from the base of that spine into the earth. If you're still moving, come still now, but bring awareness to the hips, to the pelvis. You might even place your hands on your hips. And take your next 3 deep breaths in through the nose and draw the breath all the way down through the head, through the neck, through the chest and the belly, all the way down to the hips and pelvis. And as you sigh that breath out, send it down through your legs and feet and into the earth. And do that 2 more times, drawing that energy, that breath in through the nose, bringing it down through the head and the neck and the torso and the belly, down through the hips and the pelvis. And then sighing that breath out down through the legs and the feet into the earth. And once more, breathing in through the nose, drawing that energy in through the head, down through the neck and the throat and the shoulders, the chest and the belly and the hips and the pelvis. And then sighing that energy, that breath out and down into the earth. Feel your connection to the earth. Feel your feet on the ground or your bottom on the ground, whatever's contacting the earth. Imagine that you're buried just an inch or 2, just a comfortable amount, into some nice warm sand or some nice warm soil. Feel the darkness of that energy and know that it is there to support you. Feel the darkness of that energy and know that it is based in love. Just because it is low and dark does not mean that it is not here to support your highest good. In fact, that is exactly what this energy is capable of. So as I bring you with energy, with Reiki, with sound down into the depths, just keep imagining that you're sinking into this support of the earth. If you start to feel this darkness being scary, bring in a light, put a headlamp on, carry a candle or a torch or a flashlight. And as you notice the light in this space, you will find it to be a beautiful, supportive space. Just because something is dark does not mean that it's bad. This low vibration, this richness is here for your safety, for your support. Let yourself feel that as you send your energy down deeply into the earth. As we travel down into the depths. Say yow, meow, Feel your connection to the earth deeply now. Let yourself come even deeper. Let yourself be held in this beautiful richness, this dark support that is always available to us that we forget about. Check in with your body once more and call this energy down through the head, through the neck and throat, through the arms and hands, through the chest and the back and the belly, down into the hips and the pelvis, and then open the bottom of your pelvis. Feel it expand. Open it like a beautiful flower and let that energy flow down your legs, down through the thighs and into the knees. Open that energy at the knees and then let that energy flow down through the lower legs into the ankles. Open the bottoms of your feet and let that energy flow down into the earth. And as you sink, feel the safety that is accessible to you here. Feel the relaxation. Feel the release of the stress that you've been carrying. Feel the release of that mental gymnastics that's always going on in the headspace. Just let everything come down. Down out of the head, down through the body, down through the legs, in deeply to that beautiful support of our mother, the earth. Feel the safety here in this letting go, in this surrender. Feel the calm in this darkness. Let go of any fear that comes up and just be here in the depths. Fully grounded, fully safe, fully supportive. And from this space of deep safety, of deep grounding, of deep support, as you're ready, allow the top of your head, your crown chakra, to open. Again, you can picture a beautiful flower opening toward the sky and invite that golden light of intuitive flow in through the top of your head. Let it come into your forehead, through the third eye, down into the throat, into the heart space, and down into the belly, into the pelvis. Let yourself open and receive this intuitive flow of energy, of divine love, of golden light from this space of darkness, of depth, of support and safety. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, 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 oh. Say yeah, say yeah, say yeah. From this space of clarity and expansion, this deeply rooted space of safety, this open-hearted space of receptivity, invite in anything you're ready to accept from that intuitive space, let it come in as it's meant to. No pressure here, no judgment. If nothing comes through, that's completely fine. Maybe you place your hands on your heart, connecting to that intuitive flow. Invite information, invite contact from your spiritual support team. And if you're not quite ready for that, just invite the potential. Invite the idea that you intend to connect with your intuition, that you intend to trust your intuition, to listen to those intuitive hits that come all the time when we are in this safe space of receptivity, in this quiet, in this darkness. There is the light of intuitive knowing. But we've got to come into the darkness and embrace it in order to find the light, in order to hear that little tinkling of the bells of our intuition coming through. So open to that now. Ke ane o e au, se ane o, se ne ane o, se ha se o, se ha se o, ke awe o, ke awe o, ke awe o. Just allow yourself to receive here for a few more moments, feeling grounded, feeling safe, feeling supported, no longer afraid of that darkness, but embracing it, embracing the quiet of that earthy energy, the low rumble, the pulse of the earth, bringing that feeling of flow and safety, allowing you to open that heart space, to open that upper spiritual part of your body from the heart up to receive that intuition, to receive any more information that might come through. And remember that this is a practice. So do practice. Come back to this. Come back to the grounding. And you will find a deepening of that each time you return to this practice. And from that space, begin to open those upper centers of receptivity for the highest good, for your highest good, for the highest good of all you encounter, for the highest good of this planet itself and humanity, for the highest good of all the plants and animals that exist in this physical realm. Do this practice not just for yourself, but for the world around you, and notice the effects. You will see them, you will feel them, you will live them. That is your birthright. Stay in this beautiful, grounded state of safety, of connection to our Mother, the Earth. If you'd like, you can close that crown chakra or leave it open for the highest good. Whatever calls to you here. know that setting that intention for the highest good is the most powerful protection you can have. That being grounded in this beautiful richness, this dark space, this earthy energy is for your highest good. This is the most protection you can have. Being grounded and connecting to the unconditional love of the earth, and being open and connected to the unconditional love of the divine, of the universe, of source. As you're ready, slowly start to move your body, just coming back, staying in this beautiful energetic flow, maybe doing a few more of those gentle hip circles, feeling the pelvis, noticing any shifts in this area, and maybe there's nothing, and that's fine. Taking a few more deep breaths if you'd like, with whatever type of breath you enjoy. Do breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, if you can, to release even further, to let go of any more stress, tension, any feeling of not being safe that remains. Sigh that out now, down into the earth. Let her hold you in safety. There is nothing to be in stress about in this last moment here. Sadnam. The truth of your identity is that you are meant to be safe. You are meant to be held and supported and loved and grounded, connected to the earth, as well as open to receive in intuitive flow. This is your birthright. This is who you are. Let yourself feel that. And as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Have a safe and receptive rest of your week, and I will see you next week for Wind Down Wednesdays.